exceeding expectations, to move beyond those problems. Because better is possible. We can do better than we had done before. If we simply focus on problems, the best we're going to be is not having a problem. Doesn't mean we're going to exceed expectations and do better than we could have done. It's just eliminating a problem. We can create better. If we're going to move past problems, we have to understand really right now what we're at is status quo, which could be 0. Sometimes we fall below status quo. We see what we sometimes identify as problems, which we can say is -3, below status quo. Then we think, boy, we have to solve that problem. The problem could be something like maybe we have diabetes, maybe we have inactivity, maybe we have heart disease, could be car trouble, could be trouble with kids, trouble with our significant other, it could be trouble at school, trouble at work. There's so many things, and we think, well, if we just solve the problem, things will be great. Let's see. If we solve that problem, it's fixed. We say, oh, we can finally relax a little bit. And we have a tendency to relax because the problem has been solved. We're not necessarily better, but we're back to where we were, back to that status quo. That sometimes even happens if we just figure out why a problem occurred. If we just understand why it occurred, we say, oh, well, that's why. But again, that doesn't move us past our 0 or our status quo. It reminds me of once I heard a story about the No Smell Febreze. It talked about how they created this great product, a new product, that actually eliminated odors by changing the chemical composition of the product. They thought, wow, whole new product. But in the beginning, it didn't sell. What happened was, for customers, they would spray it on a bad odor, and it would change the composition, and it would no longer smell, but the end outcome was nothing. It was back to the status quo. There was no smell. So they hadn't achieved anything, they just were back to where they were from the beginning. So, was it better? Well, kind of. Actually, what it was not worse. It wasn't worse than it was the status quo in the beginning. So, people couldn't get that excited about not being worse. And that's really deficit theory. It's eliminating a deficit. So it's creating a non-negative. It's not something bad we have to focus on. So we got nothing, which is really the benefit of prevention. Because if prevention works really well, nothing happens. If we are able to prevent heart disease, we don't have a heart attack. If we're able to prevent gaining weight, we don't gain weight. If we're able to prevent having diabetes, we don't have diabetes. But we're the same as we were. If prevention works, nothing happens. And it's not really that exciting to do that. We really want to do even better. We desire improvement. You're thinking on this chart, what we want to do is we want to move towards a higher quality, to a +3, so we can achieve some types of positive gains. Something better than it would have been, better than it was before. We want to be thriving. We want to be flourishing. We want to be achieving. An example we can think of was Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs at Apple. He said, we're going to create insanely great products. We're not out there to figure out what's wrong with the computer industry and solve a problem. We're just going to create insanely great products. And now we find that we feel like we need these products before we ever knew we wanted them. Because they created insanely great products. They exceeded expectations, which is really a growth theory. It's about growing beyond and moving to a better, more achievable outcome that makes things exciting and wonderful. Problem solving isn't enough. We have to focus on it, and our starting point can't be a problem. It has to be a desired outcome. It has to be somewhere higher or better than it was before. Some way to exceed expectations, some way to add value to the outcome, to make it better than it could have been. Simply eliminating a problem just brings us back to 0. We can do better, and better is possible. We can exceed expectations. Thank you.